How's it, gang? We're back. Little different video today. Kind of related to ukulele building. I'll bring an ukulele out. I can grab it right now. Built a Moxon Vise. Just do research. If you don't know what it is, lots of stuff on there now. I studied and I was gonna order the parts for Cosman's kit, which I like. It's based off of the Woodcraft kit. He added a few things to it. There's some other kits out there, really nice, heavy duty. I didn't see the need for me in ukulele building, but I wanted to build one just because there was one process that I could see me using a Moxon Vise for, and that's cutting the end graft. That being said, we won't do the end graft today, but I'll show you the Moxon Vise I built on the cheap, Aliexpress. Ended up being like less than 60 bucks for the components, not counting the bolted birch plywood. But we'll just get into it. All right, let's talk about the Moxon Vise. Well, let's not talk about the Moxon Vise, so you guys can figure this out. Just know this. I'll open this up a little bit, and I'll show you the hardware that I have on this. Again, got it from Aliexpress. I'm gonna talk through the part numbers right now, or I'm gonna talk through the measurements of the hardware, okay, and what you get. This is not a good angle. All right. I ordered a T12, a Tangle 12 lead screw set. So you can see right here, this is not threaded rod. This is closer to a lead screw. The kind of things that they use, I think, in CNCs or whatever. So it's a T12. What that means is this shaft itself is 12 millimeters. So if you want to do the math, less than ½ inch. So it's really tiny relative to some of the other kits out there, which are 3/4 inch, some up to 1 inch, with big heavy duty wheels on the back end side. This does not have a heavy duty wheel at all, I'm gonna tell you right now. It's a 3-inch plastic wheel. That's all it is. Like I said, you get what you pay for. Less than 60 bucks, obviously you get 2 of these. It came with some metal, aluminum block that I'm not gonna use. What it does come with, and here's the key to this. See that bushing right there? Right here. That is the key to this setup right here. I wanted my setup, and you'll see the ones that I think Cosman's one and Woodcraft's one. The threaded shaft is bolted in right here. The shaft doesn't move, it sticks out here. And the wheel that turns has a hole in it, and the wheel goes in and out. I wanted something where the shaft went in and out and stuck out the inside, because I didn't want to hit it from the front side. You guys have done studies on Moxon Vises, you know exactly what I just said. Okay, so that being said, it needs to be supported by a very tight fitting shaft. So this is a brass shaft, and it's really tight fitting. You can see right here. The other end of it, it comes with 2 of these bearings right there. And this is how it's set up. This bearing is, I made a mistake when I initially installed it. In fact, let's just talk about that right now. But from a support perspective, it's supported on this side of the back piece by this bearing, and this side of the back piece by this bushing. Very important, this one. You can see on the end, it doesn't move a whole heck of a lot. So this entire end right here is supported by this bearing and this back piece. This front side is supported by this bearing right here. Set screw is actually on. I didn't have it on. I actually had the set screw off on this bearing. I had this bearing a little loose, so this front piece actually wobbled intentionally. I just tightened it up today, and I'm gonna work it like that just to see how it works, just so you know. And some would argue, well, you need to have some play between both sides just in case you put something inside this bevel that's not exactly the same. I can turn one side, there we go. That's about as much play as it gets. You can see it going in and out. So it accommodates for a slight bevel. If I wanted more, I just really gotta loosen up these screws. Just loosen it, get this loose, and it'll move all over the place and tighten however you want. Now, the pitch angle on this. Here's what a mistake is. I think it said 3 TPI, turns per inch. It's not. 3 turns on this thing is closer to like 1.25 inches. So it's super steep. Now, advantage of that, you don't have to turn this a whole lot to get a gap. Disadvantage of that, the tighter the turns per inch, the better it locks in. And I'm gonna show you that a little bit later. But that being said, let's get through some measurements. I already gave you the part number. Okay, so the part for this I ordered is a T12, a tangle 12 lead screw, which gives you the diameter of the shaft, 12 millimeters. This one is 400 millimeters long, okay? 400 millimeters for you math guys, a little bit over 15 inches. That's a lot of room, more than I'll ever use. You can get it shorter than that, and I probably would have gotten it closer to maybe 300 millimeters. Cut off 100 millimeters on that one. Okay? All right, let's get to the dimensions of this. Super easy. First of all, 3/4 inch plywood on the back. I wanted the back to be solid. The front, I started off with 3 pieces of 3/4 inch. I started off with 2 pieces of 3/4 inch. I ended up adding on this 1/2 inch piece. And I said I'm going to show you the mistake I made. Let's talk about that right now. The mistake I made was initially on this one. I had this bearing inset into this 3/4 inch piece. But that, obviously I changed it. I needed this sitting outside, so the distance between the bushing back here and here is wider. Because again, it was a little bit too close. It was wobbling a little bit too much up and down. So I needed a little bit more distance between this and the bushing back here. Remember, the bushing here actually goes inside of this first piece of plywood. So what I did was, I routed out, I inlaid another piece of plywood, closed it up, and then reset it outside here. That's why I had to add this piece right here, which I routed out to accommodate for the bearing so that when it closes, it fits over. That being said, I should have just started with 3 pieces of 3/4 on the back, 3 pieces of 3/4 on the front, and everything would have been fine. So, but I tried to make the front as light as possible because I knew this shaft was going to be smaller than the normal 3/4 inch or 1 inch kits out there. So I was concerned about the weight. 3/4 would have been fine. Okay, don't worry about this piece of hardwood. Don't need that. I did that because, again, I only had 2 pieces. I wanted to get a little bit more bite outside of here. And because I had this screw loose, I didn't want it to eat up into the plywood. I had it eat up into the hardwood, which wouldn't eat up as fast. Now, the kit also comes with set screws. This one doesn't have a set screw installed because the shaft has to move in and out. Just today, I installed the set screw right there. There's 2 of them. Turn this side in. The other one's right there. Prior to this front piece could slide in and out. I just put it on today. I'm going to play around with it and use it as such. I think I'm going to like it with the set screw. So when I turn this in, this front piece doesn't lag. It stays with the handle. It goes in when I want it to go in. Normally I do 2 hands at the same time. Or it comes out with it. You can imagine how that works. All right. Some would argue, and I showed you the play already. Okay. Some would argue that I should have it loose. It should be going back. Again, depends on what you do. Let's give you some measurements. This whole thing right here, 24 inches wide. Center, the hole itself, the shaft, is 2 inches in from the side. Let's see, the front, 3 inches in, and the bottom is 2.5. So obviously, the front piece is, well, it's not 2.5, it's like 2 inches. Front piece is about 5 1/4 inches. I have it, well, you can trust me, I have it here on the bottom, 5 1/4 inches. The back piece, total, remember now, I have this other piece right here that I clamped to. Back piece total is just under 5 inches. Doesn't have to be exact, but the tops match. So that means is this front piece is a little lower. So when it gets closed, it hits this bench right here, the front edge of the bench, and that's how I have it by design. So anything I put in doesn't hit the bench. Okay? And you'll see some guys, that's their measurement. So just for purposes of this, basically a 5 inch by 24 inch Moxon Vise. The distance between, for me, the distance between the shafts, let's get this out, I even measure, right at about 19.5 inches. However, I do have the bearing on the inside. So distance between the bearing frames, 17.5 inches. So we'll show you that. Distance between there 17 and a half inches. Now, for those of you doing the math, I should be able to fit a guitar in there if I ever get to building a guitar. But I talked about the one thing I would probably use this for, ukulele, and that is end grafts. So what I have right here, you guys can see my ukulele. I have a radius dish on the back. I'll open this up. I'm going to show you why 3 or a little less than 3 teeth per inch on the rail is possibly too steep, and you want something a little bit steeper, like 10, 8 maybe. You don't want like 20. I don't even think they make that. So I've got this clamped in, and it's secure enough for me to go ahead and do the end graft over there. But I'm going to show you what happens. So this side is good. Okay, tight. Now again, this is an instrument. I'm not going to crank it down and blow it up like you can a table leg, but on this one, watch this. I'm going to tighten it. You saw that kickback right there? I'll show it to you again. Tighten it. There's a little kickback. And I blame that on the high or low, I don't know which one it is. More than 3 turns per inch. You probably want something like 8 or 10, and this probably wouldn't happen. It will lock it in. Now you see some guys put in cork. Haven't done that yet. Again, I just built it, made some table legs. It was super nice planing down the legs by hand over here. But kind of looking forward to doing my end graft on this. This is going to be really, really nice to do in this Moxon Vise. And what I'll do later on is I'll unclamp it and I'll stick it underneath the bench. So the reason I got this, again, probably the main reason I wanted to get this type of hardware kit is I wanted the shafts to stick out the back. Okay, I didn't want the shafts to stick out the front with the hole in the handle, because knowing me, I'm just gonna bang it and hurt myself in the front. So, problem with ordering this off of Aliexpress is the one with a complete kit with handles like this, T12. Believe me, I was looking for the T18s, the T20s, T25s, larger shafts. I found this one easily. Maybe the others weren't available, but again, the key, I'm going to say this one more time. Bushing back here, bearing in the front. That's what supports the whole thing. That is so I don't need to have 2 bolts locking it in, like the American kits or American design made in China, to keep the shaft sticking out in front. Those hand wheels, heavy duty hand wheels on those kits with the hole inside, super expensive, even if you can find it. Again, this one, super cheap. It works. If you want to see if you need a place in your shop for a Moxon Vise, probably as cheap as it can get. All right, guys, catch you later.